All right, video reaction. I have tons of opinions on this. I have a lot of opinions. A lot of Destiny fans attack me for my take on this.
Posted on X. I've been trying to wrap my head around how the flooding in Texas became so devastating so quickly. Why not evacuate? Then I saw this. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said the Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in just 46 minutes around 4 a.m. That doesn't even seem natural. To which you reposted this, and you put your own words. I heard God killed those kids because they were using NordVPN, promo code Destiny, to get around the Texas porn ban.
Okay, we know conservatives are wrong. We know that them saying this is unnatural is stupid. We know conservatives are the reason many people died because they refused to install alarm systems or alerts. They defund FEMA and the National Weather Service. The warnings were not given out properly. The local Republican ran town, embezzled funds essentially, and used tax dollars to pay off the sheriff's department and a retired sheriff and a bunch of other crazy political corruption stuff. Like, we know that's bad. And if you want to use some type of really antagonistic commentary here or a joke to bring eyes to it, like you're a little political M&M, that's cool. But still, I don't think there's any justification for talking about God killing kids because they were using NordVPN to get around the Texas porn ban. You could think it's cool in your community, but you have to understand, this is the same level of disconnected and low IQ and completely just like online, the same level as lefties that say, well, we need to make white people feel uncomfortable. White people need to feel uncomfortable. The point of making white people feel uncomfortable is not to make them feel bad or, really apprehensive to your beliefs. It's to make them have thought-provoking, discussions that have actual utility. And if you're going to say white people should feel uncomfortable, that's not pragmatic. It's not going to bring utility. The same way if you make a really abrasive joke, a really crazy joke, and the joke is this far off base, it becomes a negative return. But I do think some edgy jokes could have worked here. Just don't go after the kids. Don't talk about the kids watching porn. It's just stupid.
On reflection, do you think that was grotesquely tasteless thing to be posting?
Absolutely not. The hand wringing here. Oh my God! Stop. If you want to talk about dead children, then you should talk about the residents of Carroll County who rejected using ARPA funds to build the very siren system that Ted Cruz was over here virtue signaling about. Now that the kids are dead, last I checked, the siren system isn't bringing anybody back to life. Okay, the very same system that they could have built for the better part of the last decade. They didn't want to touch those ARPA funds because they thought that if they did, Biden would go and steal their homes, which is the exact same lie that was told in North Carolina when people were rejecting FEMA funds because they thought that if the government was giving them money for the houses, they'd steal it. If you want to talk about grotesque and ghoulish things that are being said,
it's what you put online. I agree with you. It's what you put online. It is grotesque. It's disgusting. But I mean, I guess that's what you do.
How long have people like you told us that if we spend less money in Ukraine, you guys are going to spend more money investing in things like infrastructure in the United States? Where is that money going? We just had another massive debt increase. Another massive debt increase for more tax cuts for wealthy people.
Okay, these are all true things. But if liberals said true things and won, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. We would not be here right now if that was the case. The same way, like I said, if a far leftist person says white people are terrible and evil and super rich because of racial inequality, they might be true about some points, but it's so counterproductive and it shuts people's brains off. You never want to start the conversation shutting people's brains off because the valid points are not going to be received whatsoever.
Congratulations. Thank you so much.
All right, let me get a Ben.
How's that deficit doing?
Don't talk over each other.
How's our deficit doing? Is it going up or down?
Don't talk over each other. But just to be clear, Destiny, you don't...
No answers.
Just to be clear, Destiny,
I'm going to talk.
Please stop talking.
I'm not going to sit here and argue about jokes when these guys are spreading lies that are leading to the actual destruction of these... Oh, except you guys do when it happens in LA, when it's about the wildfires. You guys make jokes when politicians are getting killed in Minnesota.
Go look at my ex
account. Just the rest of your party is? Just the rest of your party is?
Don't talk over each other because we can't hear you.
All right, yeah, okay.
All right, but Destiny, just to be clear...
The reason conservatives work, and if you look at Charlie Kirk and his strategies. Okay, Charlie Kirk does it in a covert way. It's covert, it's very pragmatic, it's very, like right now Charlie Kirk is becoming mask off, and he's going really hard at like Mamdani, and he's talking about legal foreigners invading America, making America less pure, and our civilization is going to collapse even if we allow legal immigration. So now he's becoming less popular because the mask is coming off. But usually his messaging is more covert, or the messaging on the fires is going to be a lot more obfuscated. It's going to be harder to track. You have to really study how they make it land.
Destiny, just to be clear, you don't regret posting, I heard God killed those kids because they were using NordVPN to get around the Texas porn ban.
Well, you allow the very same misinformation to spread on this program that leads to people not putting up siren systems, okay, because they think that Biden's going to go steal their
That wasn't my question.
Now, I do think it looks good to position it back to this conversation, and he looks like a whiny baby. But I'm trying to think about, like, what is the best way? Just rapid fire, it's not going to work for everyone. I'm trying to think about like how you position this in a way that would be able to salvage it, but it's a little bit difficult.
Absolutely insane.
Wasn't my
I think
question.
it's insane that you want to go and
And you see like Brian Tyler Cohen here, like a Democrat. He's probably the biggest commentator online, right, for Democrats. And he looked pretty uncomfortable, in my opinion, this conversation, this panel, because you don't want to put yourself behind. Like you can make fun of the adults that did not plan for the kids and say that it's their fault they passed away. And you could be super abrasive that way.
hand-wring liberals over jokes that are not even half as crazy as some of the things these conservatives say.
Okay, but just to be clear, you don't regret doing it.
There's no tweet like that out there.
Okay, just to be clear, Destiny,
absolutely not.
just to be clear, you don't regret posting it.
No, absolutely.
Okay, Ben Ferguson.
Piers, a couple of things here that I think there's proper information that should get out there. This is an area that I go to often. It's an area that I've taken my kids dozens and dozens of times. It's a very small rural community. When it rains there's always flooding because there's a lot of rock in the ground and the water doesn't absorb in the ground, so you have flash floodings that happen very quickly.
Yeah, that's why they told them to install the alarm systems that they did not do. Okay, so like also, I know people in real life and myself personally, like I know people who want really aggressive messaging, and even they see this shit and they're like, holy shit, like what did he say that? Like why did he say that? They want aggressive messaging, sometimes inappropriate messaging, but it's just, yeah.
Been there when
I'm trying to make sure that everyone is kind of having a reality check of how the real world works as well. We can't get too online and just feed into like a Reddit, like a cycle of Reddit gratification.
This was a once-in-a-lifetime 100-year flood. If you want to know about the funding for the system, it's an extremely small community, and the price tag for
I agree. I agree, Bender. Edgelord's failure. That's what it is. It's like Eminem in the song Kim. Okay, I'll use Eminem, the token white. All right, in the song Kim, if you know that song, Eminem goes way too far. And in other songs, he talks about sexually assaulting his own mother. Okay, but in this song, it's really bad. Like Kim is an uncomfortable song to listen to. Like even more than the other songs. But that's a little bit too far. There's a way to live within the ambiguity. You could live inside the I don't know. There's a nuance there.
Is very, very big compared to the tax base that they have in this small community. It is.
Siren systems don't work for flash floods. They were in effect for floods like this that might happen at 3 a.m. when no one's awake, or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. when the FEMA systems don't work because Republicans defunded it and the messages did not go out. These systems are made for flash flooding. It's a floodplain. Stop talking about shit. You are shitting on the grave of these poor girls that died because you're dumbass. You want to do dumb shit because you want to talk about trans people and immigrants all day. You're going to let all the kids die in the world because your brain is too pathetic and weak to deal with real issues.
Not because of the Matt Boone stuff this guy's talking about. That is not why the community decided 6 years.
Wait, one more thing. Okay, one more thing. This guy said, oh, look, it's the TDS guy again. Okay, watch out, guys. All the PDF files are online using this identifier. If someone says the word TDS, you know that they are supportive of Jeffrey Epstein, that they probably also engaged themselves. Like TDS, you have to watch out. TDS, oh, TDS is the new calling sign for them.
Years ago to not
Whoever
do
says
it,
that.
even though they wanted to. It was a cost issue. What's going to happen now is you're going to have state funds and federal funds, and that system will happen. But go back to this once-in-a-lifetime flood that took place. No one could have prepared or thought this was going to happen. People bought homes on a river where there was constant flooding, where they're built high enough up that flooding has never gotten there before in the history of their lifetime. So this is a tragedy that took place. And by the way, this is personal.
Most of the death happened in a high-risk zone. I could try to find the map.
Because I know people who lost children. There are funerals that are taking place.
Just to be clear, you're saying that there are
talking about a funeral for a second?
You're saying
Let him finish,
like 15
Destiny.
times. So you're saying there are no citizens saying that they don't want to use the American Rescue Plan funds. They didn't want to use that money because they thought Biden would take their homes.
I'm going to go back to what I said.
No, I think that
transcript doesn't exist.
I think it can be useful in the world of Asmongold and like, you know, all the streamers and stuff to do what Destiny's doing here. And that's what I always say for all the Destiny fans that are going to be watching this. Like, you can be effective in this realm, but just don't think you're going to appeal to the mainstream at all. You're probably going to be a negative the Democrats in the mainstream.
But can you let Ben finish, given he was talking about the funerals?
So I think this is the map that I saw, and someone could say it's not true. It's on New York Times, and someone put the screenshot on Twitter. Amazing research. So the high risk area, the buildings in the floodway here, we're right here. So if there's a big flood, it's gonna be happening here, and the buildings here, you know, they usually don't have water go that high. Maybe it goes that high, but it's not like going to be damaging to the structures or be life threatening. Then there's a flood risk area up here. There's another channel to the floodway going into this valley here. But these buildings where most of the death happened were located in an area that was a known floodway. And that's why the funds that were going to be distributed there were focused on the alarm system for this particular area. And Republicans locally, again, basically stole the funds. And they said, you know, Biden's going to do communism. And they then took all the money and gave it to their like retired sheriff, and they did corruption with it, essentially. So take of that what you will.
Dead children.
By the way, please drop a like and subscribe. Please drop a like. I'll take your phone calls in like 5 minutes.
That transcript doesn't exist.
But can you let Ben finish, given he was talking about the funerals of dead children?
I have friends whose kids
Please let him finish what he was saying.
He doesn't care. As long as he admits he doesn't give a fuck about the dead kids. That's okay.
You know what, Destiny? You don't give a fuck about the dead kids, do you?
Admit it. I do.
Because you thought it was funny. You thought it was funny. You thought it was funny to go on X and talk about, I heard God killed those kids because they weren't using a NordVPN to get around the Texas porn ban. That is disgusting. You're the one using dead children in a grotesque manner. So let me just lay that down for the record.
Just to be clear, let me lay it down as well. How many people did my joke kill?
No, it's just disgustingly tasteless.
Exactly.
You're sick, man.
And then how many kids died because there's no siren system? Because people like this guy over here made up the lie that Biden was going to steal your homes if you accept American Rescue Plan. If you accept American Rescue Plan money.
He's powering through it. He is powering through it.
Exactly.
I never made that up.
I would like to hear Ben finish the story he was telling us when he was talking about the funerals of dead children. So let me finish that, please.
What do you mean I didn't have the funerals? Wouldn't that be better?
Rather than you talking about why you were right to crack a sick joke.
Can we mute him?
Ben.
Okay. I go back to the point here. This flood did not ask if you were liberal or conservative, rich or poor, black or white, or anything else in between.
Oh, this is such a bro. He's doing like a liberal speech right now. Like,
people lost their lives, and many people lost their lives trying to save kids in an unprecedented flood. If we could go back, I'm sure this community would have said, we'll figure out a way to have the money. You're dealing with an area that has a lot of volunteer first responders and firefighters. Yeah. Can I finish, please? Like, maybe you'll learn something and not be such a tool.
You just lie.
You don't live there. You don't know. You've never been there. I've been there. I've talked to people. You don't know anybody that died in this flood. You're a POS. That's who you are. I would like to finish my point, Piers.
Finish it, Ben.
Thank you. There are people that died in this flood helping try to save the lives of others. There are elderly that died. I know people that lost children in this flood. They would love to go back and have a different warning system. By the way, we don't know if the warning system would have changed anything at all.
Okay, they would love to have a warning system, but by the way, we don't know if it would have changed anything. But by the way, the FEMA messages did not go out, but they were overstaffed. But also, the messages did not go out because of the huge cuts. And the person that did the local community coordination was fired or they took the early retirement package from Trump. And also FEMA didn't send any services until 72 hours after the flood actually started. They didn't send any like response services because Kristi Noem didn't approve it. Kristi Noem. See, the argument here, you have to imagine the median voter that goes from voting, Andrew Schultz or Joe Rogan. They listen to those podcasts. They listen to them as if they are Socrates. Okay, they are the most wise people they know of. Those people, you have to imagine going and pleading to them. Anyone that understands how bad this situation is right now is going to vote Democrat. But you need to understand when you're positioning yourself rhetorically, how are you going to frame this issue in a way that's going to be receptive to those people that are going to clutch their pearls and be led around by stupid emotional stuff. And it's a great, like, Destiny's making great points here. The Destiny point is 100% true. But again, it's harder to advocate for if you're going to be putting up jokes about that. Like, make a joke about something else. It's just not. I need people to understand. Now, it shouldn't even be a hard thing to say, and I know this is a very online thing to even talk about, but like, this is a big media platform. Brian Tyler Cohen's huge. It has reach. Talking about kids who just died in a flood, like the day before, saying that they were watching porn and that's why they got smited by God, is probably the worst joke to point out hypocrisy on the right. That's like the worst possible way to do it that they can use for virtue signaling pretty easily. I don't know why that's a really debatable point on the internet or even just like a controversial point in these circles, but you need to be connected to the real world a little bit, just a little bit.
The warnings came out early. Unfortunately, there's spotty cell phone there. Everyone's talked about this. I'm sure there's people in the community that wish they would have maybe done something different in the past. Hindsight's 20/20. But to say that the community decided not to do this because of some insane theory you've come up with, which is not true or based in fact. It was based on a small rural community with not a lot of tax base and a very expensive price tag for something. And for you to sit here and to somehow decide that this is a place to say something.
FEMA tried paying for it. In fact, federal government programs like the ones that Trump wants to kill, the purpose of those programs is to help communities that have budget shortfalls for emergencies like this. This is why we have federal programs with the federal government, which can borrow money and to leverage more tools to help these localities. That's the point of the American Rescue Plan. And you got to make sure you say that as well to reinforce the idea why Project 2025 is a bad thing and why Trump killing like the Doge thing is bad. Like you could probably make a really good policy case here. That would be, that would sound reasonable.
So sick. I'm assuming you don't have kids. I have 6-year-old and 8-year-old kids. If you talk to parents that are planning their child's funerals are happening tomorrow and the next day here in Houston, I think you would have a little bit of a soul and a heart for them. But instead, you're out here putting this crap out there. And it's really sad. I hope you get help.
Let me bring in Brian. Brian, I want to talk just about a wider point connected to what Destiny posted, for which he shows no regret at all, which is entirely his choice. But I can say my feelings, which I have. You know, a former appointee to a Houston city board said that Camp Mystic, where most of these poor young girls were at the time, was white-only, conservative and Christian, said Sade Perkins, a former member of the Houston Food Insecurity Board, said in a TikTok video. So take a look.
I know I'm probably going to get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person. If this were a group of Hispanic girls out there, this would not be getting this type of coverage that they're getting. No one would give a and all these white people, the parents of these little girls, would be saying things like they need to be deported.
No, I think that's completely untrue.
Charlie Kirk blamed the floods on a fire chief that is like 2 hours away in Austin, a black fire chief. He said the floods got worse because of a DEI fire chief. And when you see, TikToks like that, the most radical, person on TikTok saying it's all white camp and they're all whatever privilege and blah, blah, blah. I would prefer that person to the actual neo-Nazi blaming black people, like a black guy 2 hours away, for the flood getting worse. It's just like, and I don't want either of them in the political process, but the issue is that the woman that was just speaking on that TikTok is 0.1% of the Democratic Party, and the Charlie Kirk base of the Republican Party is 70% of their party, 80% of their party. So it's levels of severity that's different. But again, Destiny here is screaming, talking fast. He has the terrible joke. He's adding to the idea that the left is unhinged here. And again, Brian is pissed right now. I guarantee you, Brian is pissed right now because he needs to be next to Destiny. And Destiny's making it harder for Brian to advocate here.
He said, it's completely disgusting to say that in the aftermath of this when these poor girls, many of them are still missing.
Thank you, Kyle. Thanks for the engagement and boosting the channel and the algorithm. I know there's a lot of Jeffrey Epstein defenders in chat right now.
Presumed dead. But then there's a pediatrician called Dr.
I'll take
Christina
the phone
B.
calls
Probst,
in a little bit.
Who's been fired after posting on social media. She's a pediatrician, this woman. May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to get FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. And my question, Brian, putting that together with what Destiny posted, which again, for the record, I thought was disgusting. Destiny, I've told you.
Okay, this one versus what Destiny said. May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County voted MAGA that got FEMA. No. Oh, dude. Because right now, what you should be saying, and this is how you be manipulative, okay, in a good way, for positive reasons, but you say you don't include children. You don't make fun of the children dying, all right? It's not the children's fault they're going to be crazy. It's the parents' fault. It's all the parents. It's all the adults. It's the elected officials. You need to target the elected officials. Target the Republican Party. Don't target the people. You never put the people. You put the people, like when you talk about people, American citizens, they should be at the forefront of your positive messaging. Your building rallying calls, your call to action should involve people. But when you criticize, in a political sense, what happened here, it should all be about Republicans. If you want to say Republicans killed the kids, that's a much better response than making it personalized like this. And you shouldn't be like, this is also unhinged, but it's also a random ass comment. It's a random ass comment on the internet. And we have the president of the United States blaming plane crashes, blaming floods, blaming fires on black people for existing, blaming every problem in America on black and brown people. Okay? And I want to make sure we have good advocates to push that topic in these conversations.
Climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts.
Put them on their heels.
My question,
put them on their heels.
Putting that together with what Destiny posted, which again, for the record, I thought was disgusting. Destiny, I told you.
I'm curious. I am curious what Brian's going to do here.
You can defend it as much as you like, but it was just a sick, awful thing to post.
He's not going to defend the comments. He's not going to defend it.
But that's
He'll
entirely your
pretty
decision.
quick.
But Brian, I've seen this on the other side too. I've seen this during the Biden administration when terrible things happen, that there's a race for people to get political, to play a race card or play this card or play that card, or just show a shocking inhumanity. And it's the very worst of society.
Here, really quick. And I'm going to pause a lot. It's my video. If there's Destiny fans that watch this or any other fan from here, you get mad, go watch the original video. Okay, right now, when Brian says here, it's okay to make it political because these decisions are political. They made decisions to kill the kids and blah, blah, blah. Or not to kill the kids, but to not put preventative measures in place. Do not build the alert systems. Like, that was a decision they made. That was a strictly political decision that cost lives. That was costing lives. But now think about this for a second. Now on this panel, when Brian says it's okay to politicize it, what are people going to think when he says politicize it? Are they going to think the Republican Party made policy decisions to put more kids in harm's way? Or are they going to tie the politicize to what Destiny said in that tweet? Think about that for a second of how the messaging becomes poisoned. Again, I want aggressive messaging, even somewhat offensive messaging sometimes. I'm okay with that. But just think about that.
When that happens. What do we do about this? I think it's fueled by social media. People wouldn't be able to
Yeah, Cloud, it is a right-wing bot comment section. It is in the comments right now. I'm used to it.
Get the audience for this kind of thing without TikTok, without Facebook, without X and so on. But it's a sick thing that this goes on when these terrible tragedies happen.
Look, I obviously can't speak for what some random person on the internet tweeted about Camp Mystic. All I can say is look, I try to have some sense of the fact that there are as many Republicans in California as there are in Texas, and there are as many Democrats in Texas as there are in major big blue bastions. And so I try to focus on that and recognize that a lot of these people are a lot of these people are fighting against the same system that I would be fighting against, and I would obviously not attack folks in Texas, but I would point out that
Brian first goes off and says, "I'm not going to attack the people." Good.
Ben said that. These storms aren't partisan, and that we have to try. I can't remember what Ben said, but the reality is that while the wildfires were raging in California, Ben and Ted had a podcast where they just attacked Governor Newsom and Karen Bass. And that was while the fires were still raging. And so spare us the grandstanding and the virtue signaling about how this stuff doesn't get partisan. This was here's Ted Cruz's tweet. Right now, everyone is horrified watching the LA wildfires. In today's episode of Verdict, we break down the catastrophic policy decisions made by Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass. While the wildfires were still raging in Los Angeles, while I was standing on my roof in LA, spraying down my house with a hose to make sure that my house wouldn't set on fire when the fire was down the street within 1 mile of my house.
Did you listen to the show?
And so Ted Cruz decided to come out and make his entire episode, which, by the way, there is not.
So I'll tell you what.
Did you listen to the show? You can say that for anything then. Oh, there's not enough context.
Because I was on that show.
Excuse me, let him finish. You cried so much about people interrupting. Let him finish.
I know. Ben is arguing for death.
You said we did a show. You're putting words in our mouth of something we didn't say.
I read the tweet verbatim. That's
did
what I
you
did.
listen to the show?
Now Brian here has not enough spice. He needs a little bit more spice, a little bit more of an attack. Okay, words like verbatim are cringe and liberal. I almost said linge. Cringe and liberal. They are linge. Okay, they are cringe and liberal. Throw in a couple insults. I don't know.
So I'll tell you what we did.
Did you watch the Lifetime movie? Did you see the documentary?
What we did was we talked about the decisions that were made in favor of.
I gotta get on a show like this, bro. Not like this. I'm not gonna be popular enough for this, but still, I gotta get on something.
Well, let Ben say what he thinks he said. Let's listen to Ben.
I'll redo the show in a very quick form. What we talked about were the decisions that were made with underbrush not being cleared out and the massive warnings that were coming. We also talked about what the fire chief said about those warnings. We talked about the lack of water pressure. We talked about them cleaning up some of the holding tanks. We talked about also the fact that there were certain things that were done to save fish over having the ability to fight these types of fires.
That's not true at all. These are all not true things. Debunking these things is really difficult. It's just and the same points would be made well, you made all these partisan political statements right away, and then you added more nuance in your full video. We did that too. But the issue is the points they're bringing up right now, the nuance. Okay, the nuance here is completely fake. These are all fake points. The thing with the fire pressure, fire hydrant pressure, the thing with the reservoirs, or the little fishy, or the water that Trump dumped up north. Those are all lies, and the points we made about this flood are true. So how do you parse that nuance there? You need a really concise framing here.
And everything that went into it, we talked about the decisions that were made that made for a poor response that made you have to be on your roof, as you described it, spraying down because there wasn't adequate decisions that were made with those winds that came through with the underbrush.
You think the reason that I was on my roof was because while the Santa Ana winds were ripping through LA at 100 miles per hour and 50,000 acres of LA were burning, that some bogus fucking story about about Delta Smelt is why LA was burning? You're a joke, bro. You have no idea what you were talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm quoting the people in your government. California.
There is no amount of water pressure in the world through these hydrants that are going to be able to put out 50,000 acres of fire. Yes, you did. You're talking about smelt, and you're talking about no water pressure.
I didn't say that. If you turn on every hydrant, you lose water pressure. That's not what I said, by the way.
Let me grant you the larger point, though, and I think the point that you're trying to make, I'll grant you this, even though you don't deserve it, and you're just going to spew a bunch of bullshit about smelt and water pressure.
Okay, brother.
But let me grant you the larger point and say that there are still things that people could do, and I'm not here to argue that California did a perfect job or does a perfect job with
I think
regard
you
to,
and I can agree on
how
that.
they manage all of this stuff. But to that point, then,
I
do
can
you think
agree
it's
on that.
maybe a
They're
little
so
stupid that
slimy.
Trump would fire 10% of NOAA's workforce, which is about 1,300 staffers?
It was
and
overstaffed. It was actually overstaffed, bro.
researchers? Do you think it's a good idea then that Trump called for reducing NOAA's workforce by a further 17%, which would be another 2,000 staffers and researchers? Do you think it's a good idea that Trump slashed 20% of FEMA's workforce?
Yeah,
Do you think it's a smart idea to phase out FEMA completely? Do you think it's a smart idea that 25?
See, like Brian here, like this guy right here is going to place a lot onto Brian. He's not doing enough to place it onto this guy. You need some other comments, some like swag here, some swag, okay, some spice. It is true. Like, it's very true that California, there is no water infrastructure in the world that could have solved this fire situation. It was just that bad. It was a fire hurricane or a fire tornado, whatever you want to say. And Brian did kind of say that. I saw that on Twitter too, that same exact statement. But he also, you know, the flooding, you have to pound that point home. Like, these kids could have been saved by this alarm system that Republicans did not do. And also the FEMA is late. I don't know if they knew about the FEMA thing at this point when they recorded this. But there's a better way to pound this stuff home. You could package it in a better framing.
5% of NWS's stations lack a meteorologist.
Okay.
All of this stuff is
let's go back to the basics here.
Fire tornado.
If you're
like
asking
Avatar.
about the size of government and the president making a decision to reduce the size of government when it makes sense, I have no issue with that. By the way, the staffing and the lies that were put out by many on the left and the media was that there was understaffing when it came to the warnings that were coming out from the National Weather Service. That was a lie. They were staffed above normal staffing levels.
Yeah.
They held people over the day before and the night of the storm in Texas. They had double the staff on staff when the storms were hitting. There's a timeline of all the texts that were going out and the warnings that were going out. And so you're acting as if Donald Trump caused a problem with the flood and the response to it in the warning system, which is a lie. When you have double the staff, which is the protocol, by the way, under Obama, under Biden, and
So, Kerr County and FEMA did not alert cell phones as the flooding began. There was never, you know, those warning messages you get to your smartphones. They never sent those out. FEMA, the person that coordinates the local response was cut from the administration with a forced, well, I mean, like a pressured early retirement. That's a big issue. And also, there's a bunch of issues. What that guy just said about the overstaffing, it doesn't matter if you have overstaff for this one night. If you cut every person with experience that can handle a major event like this, that's a natural disaster. That's going to be like a not generational. It's every few months now. With how bad the globe is getting with weather and climate. I can't say the word climate because conservatives piss their pants if I say the word climate and start crying like little babies.
under George Bush. So this is nonpartisan, and everyone showed up for work, and people were held over. You're now just trying to score political points on the lives of dead children for political reasons.
Okay, let me ask you
Hang on.
Let me bring in Natalie because she should be waiting patiently.
Don't grant him anything. Pound the point home. Don't grant him anything. Don't say, let me grant you. Like, why would you ever grant him anything? Like, you don't grant him something and say he doesn't deserve it. Don't grant him it. Pound the point home. Do not grant him anything. Like, you have to counter the propaganda with your own form of very strong, convincing messaging, Brian. You cannot you can't be on the back foot here. You have to be charging forward.
Natalie, when I read out what Destiny posted there, what was your feeling about that?
Well, I think that's probably the textbook definition of what it means to be a grifter, trying to profit off of dead children by pumping NordVPN and your promo code. It's
It's a fake promo code.
I'm pretty sure you're an atheist. You don't believe in God. You certainly don't believe in traditional marriage. So I would expect nothing less that you would double down and defend it. Blows my mind. I mean, I agree comedy's important, but I don't think, no offense, maybe shouldn't be a stand-up comedian if you want to start your...
Oh, someone in the comments said, I live in Canyon Lake, Texas, and yes, they sent alerts out. Hey, buddy, do you know this county, the county we are talking about, the proper alerts were not sent out. I'm glad you live in that area of Texas, in Canyon Lake. But where all these kids died...
career by posting about dead children. It's really not all that funny. And it really wasn't even a joke. You were trying to profit off of it. So I think that's sort of a...
Unless if you're saying these kids and these parents are too dumb and the government didn't fail them, but they failed themselves and their kids, which I think is pretty disgusting if you want to put the blame on the kids because the government failed them because you want to suck up for your politicians like a little cuck. Like it's so
compounding evilness to what you did.
What do we do, Natalie?
So real quick, for compounding evilness, just so I could read this because it's entered into the record, okay? I'm just curious if Ben wants to say, is this quote fake, okay? So there's hundreds of these quotes, all right? At a county meeting, okay, where the citizens are giving feedback on whether or not they should use the American Rescue Plan funds, all right? Citizen Mr. R says, there's not just a lack of transparency, but the Biden administration is pulling the wool over our eyes. If we see what's actually written, we make a clear decision. This is wrong. Texas has been going in the right direction. I moved from Washington State a year ago. Washington is just falling lockstep with whatever this admin wants to do, and we are watching with clarity the damage. As far as COVID and the recovery money, the majority of the damage has been caused by the government. We're doing well. I'm a retired firefighter, EMS. I love law enforcement. So do no harm is going by the wayside. Let me finish one more sentence. Do no harm is going by the wayside.
So, if you look up FEMA records right now, someone asked for proof of it. FEMA records show there were alerts sent out, but there was no direction given. The coordination officer I keep on bringing up, the super experienced person that they forced out with the early retirement package, he was the person for FEMA and local coordination that worked with local officials. The local officials never sent out actual instructions for what to do. So when they get a flash flood alert or emergency, they were not told this was going to be catastrophic. Other areas were told this. This area was not told this because the infrastructure was ruined. And when it was too late, there was not an alarm system in place for last-second evacuations. If you want to try to research that, you can. Don't go on Twitter. Do some actual research from some journalistic sources, even local news. If you don't trust the big corporate media, do some local journalism or look at local journalists.
We're all familiar with that, and it's heartfelt, but it's going by the wayside. For now, what would be money that would go against everything that we believe, whatever good is in it, I don't want it. Are you telling me that that comment and the hundreds of others like it are fake? Can you give me a yes or no before you ramble about whatever relevant is? Are those comments fake?
Someone said you live there, and that's why you were able to leave. Apparently, if you want to call the other families dumb, that's fine. But I'm saying the government's at fault. The government failed their people, and we have evidence to say so. If you want to say that they are too dumb to evacuate their own kids or the kids they were watching, you can say that, but I think it's pretty gross.
I'm going to go back to what I want to say. You said what you said. I'm going to say it.
Number
one,
this is why you debate kids in college
I'm answering the damn question, dude. Like, just chill for a second. Drink whatever hemp juice or that is, okay?
Yeah, keep going.
All right. So number one, that's one person. Number two, if you weren't
Here at a news conference, NBC5 investigates reached out to Kirk County Judge Rob Kelly and Emergency Management Coordinator William Thomas, but they did not immediately respond to questions. At a news conference last week, Kelly was asked why the children's camps along the river were not evacuated. I cannot answer that. I don't know. Okay, so when you have a county judge and the emergency management coordinator, okay, not responding to any comments, and when you ask them, like, hey, why were people not evacuated? And they say, I don't know. Are you saying the families are too dumb, or do you want to blame the people whose job it is to warn people? Like, are you going to blame, who are you going to blame here? If there really were these warnings ahead of time. And again, the alert system is good if people are sleeping or if their phones are not on. Because this happened in the early morning hours. When people are going to be sleeping, and when people are going to look at their phones and not know what's going to be happening.
So dumb. If you weren't.
And regardless, the FEMA response was delayed because Kristi Noem was playing dress up, going to fancy dinners, and she did not approve the response mechanisms from FEMA.
So dumb. If you weren't so dumb,
find that one if you want.
If you weren't good, you found two. If you weren't so dumb, go Google the size. Go Google the size of the Comfort, Texas City Hall. You can't fit hundreds of people in any meeting there. You moron. You found one. You act like there's thousands that showed up. They did not show up and say that on the record. Are there people that said things on the internet?
And then the people can go out.
But if you look at how small the community is,
if you see a room that can only fit 10 people, did you know that 100 people can fit in that room and 10 go in and 10 leave? Are we living to forget this?
Again, if you understood the size of the town, which you don't, because you don't care, because you're literally trying to make money off of dead people.
You're the one who's getting kids.
You would know that this is an insane thing that you're saying. You moron.
The next time the power grid freezes, the next time another flood happens and dipshits like you were up here saying, could we have ever seen it coming? Hey, you know what? At least Marjorie Taylor Greene is out here proposing legislation to stop the Jews from putting clouds in the sky. So thank God we have you guys working hard on the problem, okay, to stop the weather modification program from Bill Gates. Thank God. Thank you.
Do you stay up till 3 a.m. and watch the internet?
Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
Okay, Brian. Let's just talk on a bigger picture about, because it's interesting to me, the whole Epstein thing, for example, I think has been fueled, the sequence of events, by what Elon Musk put on X. And he's now creating a third party. He said.
By the way, they tried. They were gonna remove FEMA. Trump and Elon, whatever. They were gonna remove FEMA, and now they reversed their decision. They're no longer gonna remove FEMA. Okay, they were gonna kill FEMA. Now they're gonna keep it on for a little bit longer. I've heard reports of that. I don't know how true it is, but it's kind of funny. The political pressure is working. They know they messed up. And you know, if you care about this situation. Trump's admin is talking about chemtrails and cloud seeding and blaming conspiracy theories on this rain. So I think that tells you all you need to know. If they truly did nothing wrong, why would they lie about cloud seeding and chemtrails? Why would they lie about it? Why would they lie about the FEMA funds? Why would they lie about Kristi Noem not sending the right responses to this area? Why would they lie? I think they would not lie if they actually knew they did a good job here and they know they messed up. Please drop a like, comment, and subscribe.